Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Jenny Halpin, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Squadron Leader Gauri Singh. This evening, we welcome the members of the National Servicemen's Association of Australia, ACT branch, and their family members who are with us here today. This year commemorates the 60th anniversary of the Second National Service Scheme. The National Service Act of 1964 required males aged 20 years and older to register to serve in the Defence Force for a period of 2 years continuous service, followed by 3 years in the Reserve Forces. In 1965, the Defence Act was amended, and as a result, national servicemen, known as NASHOs, could be sent overseas and indeed were deployed to Vietnam. Between 1965 and 1972, more than 800,000 men registered for national service. Around 63,000 NASHOs were conscripted and more than 15,000 served in the Vietnam War. Over 200 were killed and 1,200 wounded. Today, we remember all those who served under the National Service Scheme. We pay our respects to the men and women commemorated here on the Roll of Honour and to the survivors who returned home. This evening, we are honoured to acknowledge Ms. Marta Czakowska, Deputy Minister of Culture and National Heritage of the Republic of Poland, and the accompanying delegation. As always, we welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial. Now, if you are able, could I please invite you to stand and join in singing the national anthem. If you require a seat, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him in Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Trooper Charles William Smith. Charles Smith, known as Charlie to his family and friends, was born in May 1875 in Goulburn, New South Wales. He was the second oldest son amongst the 13 born to George and Jane Smith. Charles attended Goulburn Public School and then became a farmer near Taralga in New South Wales. In 1902, he served as a sergeant with the 5th New South Wales Battalion of the Australian Commonwealth Horse in the South African War. Smith enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 1st of April 1916, 1 month before his 41st birthday. He was assigned to the reinforcements for the 6th Light Horse Regiment in the rank of trooper. After almost 8 months of training, Trooper Charles Smith left Sydney in HMAT Katuna on the 23rd of November 1916. Smith arrived in Egypt on the 2nd of January 1917 and was admitted to the isolation camp at Moascar. He left the isolation camp on the 22nd of January and joined the 2nd Light Horse Training Regiment. After 4 months, Smith was taken on strength of the 6th Light Horse Regiment. The regiment spent the next few months in skirmishes with the Ottomans around Palestine before participating in the operation that ultimately led to the taking of Gaza in late October and early in November. After the fall of Gaza, the Ottoman position in the southern Palestine collapsed. The 6th Light Horse took part in the resulting pursuit and the capture of Jerusalem in December 1917. The focus of British operations then moved to the Jordan Valley. Following raids on Amman in late February 1918, the regiment spent 2 weeks in camp outside Port Said. They left camp on the 13th of March, marched out to Jerusalem, Jericho, and the area around Amman. By the night of the 27th of April, the 6th Light Horse were holding a position outside Amman and received orders to withdraw and take up a position in the extreme left flank of the brigade. At 3:30 p.m. on the 28th of March, Alpha and Bravo squadrons launched a dismounted attack on the city from the north. They were ultimately forced to withdraw due to the superior strength of the enemy on their flank after suffering 56 casualties. During the fighting, Trooper Charles Smith was captured by the Ottomans and taken prisoner. It is likely that he had been wounded during the attack, as he was taken to hospital in Damascus. Smith wrote to his mother from Damascus on the 12th of April, assuring her that he was safe in hospital and doing well. By May, Smith was at Adana in Turkey, working on the Berlin to Baghdad railway. He wrote frequently to his mother, promising that he was really well and sending his love and wishes that he would hear from her soon. By September 1918, despite his reassurance to his mother, Charlie's health had deteriorated. He was admitted to hospital in Adana in a weak state, suffering from fever. Trooper Charles William Smith died of disease on the 1st of October 1918. He was 43 years old. Charles Smith was buried in the prisoner of war cemetery at Adana in an unmarked grave. In 1927, as part of efforts to consolidate the prisoner of war graves across the Ottoman Empire, Smith's body was exhumed along with other prisoners who had been buried at Adana and taken to Baghdad, North Gate War Cemetery, to be reinterred. Without proper means of identification at the cemetery in Adana, Smith's remains were buried with a headstone that reads, "Buried near this spot." His name was also listed on the roll of honor on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. A photograph of his headstone is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Trooper Charles William Smith, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of our director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.